Got a question. Ask Tom on Home Show Radio.
This is Home Show Radio live on Facebook and YouTube. Your questions, Tom's answers. Now here's Tom Tynan and Charlie Mosier.
And welcome to Home Show. I almost did it. Ask Tom Live. Home Show Radio is what we do on the weekends. But today it's Ask Tom Live here at Facebook, YouTube, anywhere else you can find it. I don't know. I'm sure it's all over the universe. In the clouds, they tell me. But I like just being here talking with y'all on usually Thursdays at Central Time, which would be 4 o'clock. And that's when we're doing it right now. And we welcome your questions. We welcome you to join in, take a look. Charlie's around with us too. Of course, when you listen to the radio, then it becomes from Ask Tom Live to Home Show Radio. And it's Saturdays for me from 9 to 12. And Danny Milliken beforehand on Saturdays. He is from 7 to 9. He's our garden expert who's going to be joining us once in a while here at Ask Tom Live. And it'll be Ask Tom and Danny Live. So there we go. We'll have both of us. It'll be a tag team. I actually ask him a lot of questions. I take up all his time. And then, of course, let's not forget Sundays from 8 to 11 on Sports Radio 610 on Home Show Radio. I think I got all that straight.
I think you got it, man. I was sitting there checking it off.
I almost messed up at the very beginning.
Yeah, I heard that. Well, if you prefer, I can change the logo out to be Home Show Radio. It's up to you. But
I don't care. I just like talking to people, and helping people. It
is a. I'll tell you what. This is Chamber of Commerce weather season here in Houston. Just beautiful weather. People are outside working in their gardens, so that's why we'll have Danny on again. And, of course, he'll be there to answer your questions with the garden pros. In fact, they've got a special guest coming up this weekend. I'll tell you more about that a little later on Home Show Garden Pros. So that'll be fun. That's what we're doing there. But here, what we're doing here is we're answering the questions that you send Tom at homeshowradio.com in the Ask Tom section. Or, yes, if you put your questions down here in the comment section, pardon my blurry finger, yes. It happens. It's like, normally I have to drink for that, but, I get it here for free. But yeah, just send us your questions right now. Go ahead. Now, I'm going to tell you, Edward is with us. And Edward, I asked Tom before we started about your rose bushes, and Danny's your guy. And we don't want to screw up your roses. And if you can come back, I think it's not next week, it's the following week he'll be here. Or just call him on Saturday and he'll help you out. But Dan is here, and so is Pat and Delvin and Selena and Rhonda and Eileen, Marshall and Chris. Chris, don't you have something to edit? And David Romano is here as well. Okay. So anyway, we're here to answer the questions that send us at homeshowradio.com. That's what this thing's about. So let's answer some questions. I got one here that just came in for you, Tom, from Kevin Stark. Let's read it together.
I can't see it, so
here it is. He says, "Hi Tom, I bought a couple bathroom cabinets at Lowe's that I'm going to use for built-in cabinets in my living room. They're unfinished. How would you paint them?"
I would use a oil-based paint because hopefully they're wood. I'm assuming that's what they are. I'm sure there's some kind of wood product. They might be MDF board, which, by the way, it paints up super nice. So it makes a great product until it gets wet. But your cabinet should not get wet, so it should be okay. But I would go ahead and go to a paint store. I'm just going to use the name Sherwin-Williams because it comes to mind and is one down the street from me, and say you want to paint the cabinet. You're looking probably for a semi-gloss at the most. Don't go too high on the sheen unless you've got a real particular reason you want to go to a high gloss. But they're going to have a paint, and you want oil base. They're going to have a paint, the color you like, and they're going to have a primer that goes with the paint. So the first thing you're going to do is prime it. Then you might steel wool, take a little 2-0 steel wool, rub it down after the primer is hardened or cured, and just smooth it out. Make sure you take a tack cloth, which is nothing but a cloth with a little mineral spirits on there. Get all the residue from the steel wool off, and then go ahead. If it needs another coat of primer, it shouldn't. Then you can go ahead and paint it with 2 coats of your paint. Now, here's a little tip. With your primer, have it colored the same as your finish paint. That way, if you leave a little spot or something, and instead of having to repaint the whole thing or the whole side, because you can't, it's really hard to touch up oil-based paint. then you won't notice it and it'll look good. As long as it looks good, I'm good with it. Let it cure about 5-6 days before you put any books or anything on there, so the paint gets a nice hardness to it. And that's why you want to use the oil bases for the hardness.
There's another way to do that too, Tom. I know you're the home improvement expert, but for us mortals, another way, Kevin, you can do it is you visit homeshowradio.com and you scroll down. You'll hang on a second. You scroll down. You'll see Rudy's Quality Painting right there.
He can do it.
You can have Rudy come do it for you. And if you're not sure, you don't know the name, you don't know how to spell Rudy, you can come here. You should be able to spell painting, and you can find him that way. All our home show pros
Rudy's
are right
easier.
There. Rudy's easier. That's true.
In new construction, just a little step off the side. In new construction, we would have used a lacquer undercoat, about 2 coats of it, with a nice sand in between. But if you do that in your house, you're going to die from the fumes. It's not something you want to live in. Mm-hmm. In new construction, everybody goes home at the end of the day, and we leave the windows open so it airs out. But at home, not. Now, if you do it in your garage, you might consider a lacquer undercoat, but you got to be careful with it. You got to really know how to use it, and that really makes a nice finish. And that's what most new homes come with.
We have here in the offices. Now, Tom's down in Brownsville, and I'm here in Houston.
Today I am.
At our offices. And in our kitchen, in our planning room, we call it, we have a wall that we painted with this whiteboard paint when we moved in here. And the whole wall is now a whiteboard. And it was the highest VOC paint I've ever experienced in my lifetime. Tom, the smell of this thing was so strong that when I pulled into the parking lot and got out of my car, I could smell it. And so, and that's what you're talking about. It's a high VOC thing if you do that lacquer.
Yeah, I've been around it so long, I don't notice that stuff. But yes, right. If you know it, and you can smell stuff it'll be outgassing. That means it's going outside. So you might just smell it, yes.
Yes, and you don't want to be between outside and the surface because it's going to outgas into you. So there you go. All right. So
that's why a lot of people said use it in schools, Charlie, because I work in schools during the week in community colleges, and that's why they couldn't use that paint that you used because the smell, the compounds were so intense that it just shut down the production of the schools. So they went back to whiteboards, bought them, and hung them on the wall. Mm-hmm.
Well, I remember when I was a little boy,
Yes.
years ago, it was a high honor to be asked to go clap out the erasers outside, and breathe in all that chalk.
Well, no, we don't use erasers anymore. Yes,
I know.
No, I remember.
I know.
We got on the nuns' good side. The nuns always said, "Okay, Tommy, you want?" Yes, sister. And then I'd go outside and just screw around, and miss half a science class or whatever we're doing.
Well, the last time I was at my kids' school, my kids went to John Paul over here, John Paul Catholic School, and the last time I was over there, their board they were writing on, they're writing on all kinds of colors, and there was nothing there because the pen was actually. When they touched the wall and did it, it was coordinating to the computer and it was drawing it and projecting onto the screen. I'm like, come on, give me a
that goes a long way from a holy family where I went to Catholic school. We were lucky to have a blackboard. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, I'm just saying these kids
one
today.
overhead projector for 8 grades. Everybody was fighting over it.
I got some more folk who've come in here: David, Terry, Alberto. Amy and Gilbert and Darren and Angela, Anthony, thank you all for being here today. We got a whole bunch of folk who've joined us. Thank you for being part of our little broadcast here. And we're answering questions. If you want some help around the house on projects you're doing, Tom's there. And he's an architect, has a degree in architecture, and he's he said 2 more years. See ya. Anyway.
No, it has nothing to do with 2 more years. I got a 5-year degree, a professional degree. But architecture, you have to be registered in the state. And if I go out and say I'm an architect, which I didn't want to be, I went into the contracting business. But as far as that goes, I will get all kinds of letters, and you're going to get emails. Oh, yeah. So I am a graduate architect with a minor in structural engineering, which is a 5-year professional degree. Now that we got that off our hands, we can move on. I'm a licensed contractor in the state of Florida, if that means anything to anybody. And I have other licenses too. But as far as that goes, I am not an architect.
But he plays one on TV.
I complain when I'm not on the radio, though.
First, no, because everything on the radio is real. All right, Tommy in Kevil, is it Kevil, Kentucky? You think? He says, I have a cypress root problem. He says one is 18 inches in the ground, 8 inches diameter, and still growing, just like one of the many roots. The tree was about 6 feet from the house and has been cut down and below the ground for at least 4 years. It was treated with something called crossbow and has not sprouted. He wants to know, how long are these roots going to keep living, Tom? The problem is serious. He says they're threatening the foundation and septic line and the gray water line, the LP gas line. They're just getting into a whole passel of trouble there. He wants to know, how can he finally kill these roots once and for all?
I don't know if they're still alive because they don't have any sprouts coming out of them. But when you take down a great big tree, it starts to decompose. When it decomposes, and Danny would have been a perfect person to go along with me on this, it rises out of the ground because it's just leaving itself, and the top of it is decomposing slower than the bottom part. And so it makes a mound of dirt, which causes foundation problems like crazy and causes havoc with pipes and stuff. So there's nothing you can do. It's already probably dead. When you take a tree down, you really should grind the stumps down below the surface, cover it with dirt. But it's really you've got to be very careful when you take a very big mature tree down next to a house or a structure, because it will cause damage, sometimes a lot, sometimes very little, but it could cause problems for many years down the road because it's going to take a long time for that to decompose. It's already dead. It's just decomposing.
Yeah. I remember what Kenny Dutton at Do West Foundation Repair said about trees around houses. If it was there before the house,
yes,
it's part of the ecosystem. If it's added after the house,
that's true,
it's a problem.
That's when the small ones, they plant them, well, we got this little tree, put it close to the house, and all of a sudden, 40 years later, it's a live oak that's bigger than the moon. And so, it can cause some real problems. I have one of those in my yard.
You wonder, did these people never read Jack and the Beanstalk? Do they not understand how this stuff works?
All right. I don't know if it's allowed today.
That's true.
So I'm not going there.
What is it you say? We're not going down that road. All right.
Nope.
Edward Ramirez has one for you. He says, I want to epoxy my garage floor. What's a good brand without the smell? Is there an epoxy, Tom, that's not going to have that smell when he's putting it? I think he's getting back to the whole VOC thing we were talking about a minute ago. Well,
epoxy is not a low VOC, first off. Secondly, if you put an epoxy on a garage floor and you drive hot tires on there, if you don't use a commercial grade epoxy, it's just going to rip the paint right off. So epoxies are not all created equal. The ones that I use in my own garage, the ones that I've used in my mother's garage for that matter, or in warehouses and in our welding shops and areas where I do things during the week and I specify out products, is a Pittsburgh brand is my favorite, but it's a 2-part commercial epoxy. It's the kind of floor where you can run forklifts over, you can drive cars over, and it just always cleans up nice. But I'll tell you what, I've used it, and the smell of it isn't bad, and it cures very quickly. It's not like the oil-based products. So I don't know if the outgassing, as long as it's well ventilated in a garage, you open up all the doors and everything, I don't think you'll have a big problem with the 2-part epoxies. And just for those of you that want to know how to do it, you get the 2-part epoxy. It comes in an A and a B. You mix them equally. But your first coat, well, let's stop back. To prepare the surface, first off, no paint can be on there. So if it's a pre-painted surface, you can't use the commercial epoxies. It'll just peel everything off. But if it's a raw concrete, you acid wash it with 1 gallon of acid to 3 gallons of water for about 150 square feet. Pour it down, use a big stiff broom, brush it all over, and then rinse it really well with just plain water and let it dry. It just kind of etches the surface and gets it ready for the paint. Now, just a little tip, if you're working with acid and you spill any on your hand or anything, always have a little bucket of baking soda and water in there. You don't need a lot, and just dip your hands in there if it gets on your skin. It neutralizes the acid immediately, and so it won't hurt you. You'll be prepared if anything, a splash happens or something like that, but be careful when you're working with it. Once that's done, you go in with a 20% thinned epoxy coat, half A, half B, 20% approximately of the epoxy thinner that you buy separately to clean your brushes and stuff with, and then you put that 20% thin product down that you mixed up for the first day. The next day you go back with a full strength, part A and B equally mixed, and then let it cure for about 4 days before you drive a car on it. But it's dry to touch, you can start bringing your toolboxes and things like that if that's what you're doing in a garage. Now, if you're just going to be doing a garage for watching football games and calling it a man cave and doing, things that aren't all, rough and tumble, like working on cars and spilling stuff and everything, then you can just use a epoxy floor paint, or better yet, you can just use a deck paint on the concrete and just follow the directions. It doesn't have to have a surface, but don't drive your car on there and don't do some hard work on it.
Wow.
Pretty long-winded, I know.
Well, Edward, you've got your money's worth. And there are no.
I've done it so many times. My dad and I used to do it all the time.
And Tom has left no question. He's left no question unanswered in that. So, here's Edward. Here's the deal. We would like you, if you're going to do this, send us a picture. Let us see the garage when you're done with it. We'd love to see.
Love to.
I'd love to see the epoxy floor in your garage. Dead serious. I'm just serious. And I want to say some more folks checking in. A little roll call here. Patricia, Janine, is it? Yeah, Janine and Gloria and John. John, who's taking time from building his growing company, is watching. Thank you for being there, John. And Gretchen and Randy and hold. Gretchen has a question for you, Tom. Hold on. Here we go.
You got so excited.
He says, do you have a list what homeowners should be checking, like HVAC, cleaning gutters, windows, roofs, and what about check up plumbing and electrical stuff, Tom? Is there we've talked about this before, is there some kind of standard list that you should go down for a year, like a year at a glance at owning a house?
Like plumbing and stuff, if it's not broken, you don't have to worry about it. Same with electrical. It's not something you're looking for problems. But mechanical systems, what people ignore. Your air conditioning and heating systems. Your whole house generator, if you have one. That's another mechanical system. A garage door is a mechanical system. Those need to be maintained, and especially your air conditioner and your generators every year. They need a checkup for sure. Sometimes, in some parts of the country, twice a year, like in the Houston area where I am, you have to check your heating system in the winter and the air conditioner right about now, springtime. I'm getting calls right now from Absolute Comfort Air for my checkup. It's time. So those things you need to do regularly. If you have anything else, though, plumbing, electrical, if it's broken, you should know it. Don't ignore it. Go ahead and fix it. And here's something I tell people to do that a lot of people don't. On a beautiful day, maybe a morning you're up with your coffee, maybe in the afternoon, who knows, walk around your house and look up and down and just look at the home. Do you see any termite tunnels? Do you see any water stains that are happening? That's going to tell you if your gutters are a problem and stuff. Look for signs of some kind of damage happening. People live in their homes and they go from their car to the back door, out the front door for the mail, then back in the front door, and they never walk around their house and just look to see what's going on with their house. And once in a while, maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, if it really bothers you, take a look at it. But I'll give you a perfect example of a guy named Charlie that I know. We had a freeze here in Houston, and I gave him explicit instructions on draining his pipes. And I asked him, make sure you go to all your hose bibs. How many of you have the proper amount of hose bibs that you know about? He didn't know of one. His wife did, but never told him. And so he didn't drain it, and he got a pipe break. So get to know your house. Charlie, how many hose bibs do you have? Do you know? I remember. Do you know how many hose bibs you have?
I believe we have
7.
I believe we have.
You thought
7.
It was 6.
I thought it was 6. It was 7. But Tom, I want you to know, one of these hose bibs is just for you.
Yeah, okay. No, but that's a good example because you get so busy. Charlie has his business. He's so busy all the time.
Oh.
He's not a home improvement guy. I'm the home improvement guy.
Yeah,
and so he doesn't walk around saying, I didn't know I had a hose bib over there. I didn't know I had one over there.
I'll never forget that hose bib, though.
That's right.
I'll never forget that hose bib.
That's what people should do.
Yeah.
I know because I know he has 7 now. I don't know where they are, but I'd look for him if I had to. But you should know
we know
those
they
kind
are.
of things. And that's what
Yeah.
I always tell people. If you feel a cabinet door that's loose,
Yeah.
fix it.
Yeah.
Little things like that.
Well, I don't have that problem because we have a detection system at our house
Yeah, I
that
know who it
alerts
is.
us to anything that needs attention. And I get home at night, and usually there's a list on a little post-it on the counter of these things need attention. And and by the way, Gretchen, you were saying about Call Absolute Comfort Air, and she says that Rick is actually coming out next week to take a look at her system.
Well, first off, you got the best, and Rick
Yeah.
will take good care of you. So
True.
you're in
True
good
that.
shape because he takes care of mine. So we're kindred spirits now. Okay.
Nah, Rick's a good guy. He's a good soul.
Yeah, he is.
All right. Audrey in Spring has a question for you. She says, do you recommend a watering system under the house to correct foundation problems, Tom? She doesn't have a cracked slab, just clay under the house, and she's wondering, should she be preemptive on this?
Right now, I would say no. I'd have to ask her some questions. How old's the house? Is she seeing any movement? But the question, the way it was written, should she put it under the house to correct problems? The answer to that is no. You don't inject water underneath the house. What happens with a watering system, you put it on the outside of the perimeter about a foot or so away, so the ground around the perimeter of the home just stays equally moist. It's not a corrective measure. All it is keeping the ground moist. And you want it to be the same. It can be a little moist, it can be a lot moist, but you don't want it to change. You don't want it to dry out, get wet, dry out. That's where the problem happens. But if you don't have any signs and your house has what we call the test of time, it's been 20 years old or more, then I wouldn't worry about putting a foundation watering system in by any means because you would have had problems by now. And the other thing is if you have a sprinkler system on your home, like I happen to have, and I think, Charlie, you have one too, when it comes on and off on a regular basis with your timer, that's a watering system. It's if the plants are alive, your ground is perfectly fine as far as being stable. So don't do any more. The worst thing you can do is inject a bunch of water because then you create a plastic situation where the ground becomes very plastic and it'll start to settle and just get gooey and gushy, and you don't want that.
No, and if you're curious about how to do this, go over to Due West Foundation Repair's website. They actually have the kit there, everything you need to do if you want to put a watering system into your house.
Right.
But like Tom says, unless you've got dry, and I don't think we're exactly in a dry cycle right now, so it shouldn't really be.
No,
an
we're
issue.
getting decent rain. If it's a Houston question, yes. I don't know on Ask
Where
Tom
is she?
Live.
She's in Spring.
because it's all over. Okay, well, Spring's right down the street from me.
Actually,
I'm in
I
Champions.
apologize. I don't apologize to everybody who lives there. Sprang. I know it's spelled with an I, pronounced like an A. It's Sprang, Texas.
That's
All right.
an old part of town, so it's probably an older home.
It probably is, yeah. All right, Reggie is up next. Reggie writes to us. He says, my clothes dryer goes through the brick wall. What should I seal the flashing to the brick to keep the rain out?
That's a great question. And it's a simple answer, but it's an answer that most people don't know about. If Jim Hardwick was here from Ideal Roofing, he would tell you use NP1. It's a caulking. It's a modified urethane, not a caulk that you would use for painting and prepping and that kind of thing. But it's used for metal flashing against any kind of surface. You use a lot of it on a roof, and you would use it there too. So NP, like Nancy Paul, NP1 comes in different colors. You don't spread it with your finger. You very carefully put it in a caulk tube and work it with the flashing, and then you can squish it down. If the flashing's in place, just run a bead all the way around to seal the gap. It will adhere to the brick, it'll adhere to the metal, and it won't change its, it won't shrink and swell with heat. And that's why it's used on roofing so much, because it can be exposed to the sun.
We've had all kinds of questions about those. No, I was just thinking about those ducts and the way they put them, the dryer ducts and all that stuff.
That's different, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, isn't that what he was talking about? Was a dryer duct?
No, he wants to seal the flashing to the brick.
Oh,
you have this piece of flashing around your little deal, and your little deal does this, and then it squishes up against that, and then you just seal it around.
Yeah, and it's almost, and it looks like a really evil molasses as it goes on there.
It looks like the front of Darth Vader. Oh, that stuff. Yeah, that stuff is
Right,
evil
right.
molasses
Or something.
from Boston.
looks
Yeah,
bad.
Boston
That's
baked
right.
bean explosion.
Yeah, molasses killed. I forget how many people were killed in the Great Molasses Flood of the north end of Boston. And they said for years you can smell it on a warm summer day.
That's right.
Yeah. People in Texas are going, what the hell are you talking about, boy?
I know. No, we need to stop. Just stop and move on.
Moving on. By the way, Gretchen, when she wrote to, did you happen to see that I don't know if she's a vet or something. This thing's I meant to point to that a minute ago. She's got a beagle or something there, which is technically not a dog. It's a hound. So.
A vet. Oh, you mean a veterinarian? I thought you meant a veteran. Okay,
well, if she's been a veterinarian for any period of time, she'd be a veterinarian, wouldn't she?
I understand. Well,
veterinarian.
They must have some in the Army. They have all the canines. Sure.
True. We have one of those dogs.
You know you? Did you rescue
Shadow,
one?
our black lab? Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
it was actually that dog was supposed to go to the TSA, but he freaked out when the doors would open and close. Oh, no. He said, Gretchen's quick to realize she's a beagle foster mom. Yes. It's good to foster them, but you don't want to keep a beagle. That's right, Gretchen, because, aroo. Anyway, so, right. But anyway, yeah. So we adopted ours, and you can too. If you go, I don't know what the site is, but if you Google it, you can find it. The TSA, all the dogs for the TSA, the FBI, I think the ATF, are all trained at Lackland in San Antonio. And they have all kinds of simulator stuff over there. And I forget how many weeks they bring them in. And then the ones that don't pass, or the ones that are retiring, they adopt out. But I want to warn you, this is not like adopting it over at, the local pound. You've got to, you got to fill out all these questionnaires. They call every one of your references, Tom. It's like you're adopting a child, but it's worth it because you get a great dog.
Well, yeah, that's good.
We're dog people here. I don't know if you picked up on that, but
I'm a kitty person. I feed the wild cats down here in Brownsville because I have no one to talk to. So at night we have
Al in Jersey Village has our next question. I am unable to locate faced R30 bat insulation for my attic. The only insulation I can find is the unfaced R30, Tom. Can I use that? And if so, do I need to add some kind of moisture barrier to substitute for the missing craft sheathing that would be on it normally?
First off, R30 usually always comes unfaced. I don't know if you can even find it with the facing on there. R25 you can find faced, but the R30 not so much. As far as do you need it? No, it's better not to have it. I don't know how many times I've answered a question about insulation and told the people, just rip the paper off and then go ahead and put it up there. So, and now this is for the Houston area, but in the Gulf Coast region where we primarily do this show, and it's my life now, the whole Gulf Coast. But as far as that goes, it lets the vapor transfer back and forth. So just put the R30 up, put it in place. It'll do great. You don't want any kind of vapor barrier ever. And moisture barriers are only used behind siding, and they're breathable barriers. Vapor barriers are never used anywhere here in the Gulf Coast region.
You don't want to get the vapors.
Nope. It'll sweat, cause mold, and do all kinds of weird things.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, coolio. All right, so that is what we got for questions.
Wait, I had the best question, Charlie. I want to tell everybody the very best question this week that I had to do some research on.
Oh, this is on the show. This is for real.
I had to read reports. This is real. This is not a joke.
Wait a minute. Whoa.
I had to read reports.
You tell me you did show prep?
Well, it wasn't for the show.
Okay.
My oldest boy put in a contract on a new home. Very first one ever.
Oh.
And he said, Dad, I'm sending you my report. And I went through it with a fine-tooth comb. And it's actually came out really nice. It has a rotted fence and stuff. I said, yeah, I'll come out this summer. We'll put the fence back together. I'll rent an RV. We'll drive out. He's moving to Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I'll go out there and help him with his house. But it was very exciting for me. A father, now my 33-year-old oldest son, is buying his first house. And he came to me for advice. And that was quite a treat. So I had the best question ever this week.
He's set up housekeeping in the land of enchantment.
He wants New Mexico. I can't figure it out, but he does.
Yeah, I know. There are people who like...
He has no grass. He showed a picture of the house. There's no grass. They have rocks. and this dead tumbleweed thing, and that's his landscaping. Danny doesn't need to move there, that's for sure. He doesn't have to have a lawnmower. He doesn't have to have anything. It's really, I find it kind of weird. I like my grass.
It's why they call it the land of enchantment, Tom.
No grass? Okay, fine.
I don't know. Santa Fe, I love Santa Fe. And
Never
Taos
been there.
You've been up to Taos up there, and
That's what he wants to go skiing, and he can work from home. He's a pipeline engineer. He does all his stuff, and he travels a little bit, but that's where they want to settle down for a while.
Santa Fe is beautiful. That's great. Congratulations. Yeah. Fantastic. My stepson, Kyle, and his betrothed, Amy, they bought their first house, and it was a similar kind of thing.
Really?
They went and looked at a lot of different houses. They live up outside of Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's works in education up there, and she's and they're setting up housekeeping, and we're going to their wedding on
You're supposed
the
to get married
24th.
before you buy the house.
Well, they did, but the problem was they
legally,
weren't-
it's both names on that deed. That's that's all I'm thinking about is the deed. It's not a religious thing. It's just the legal deed.
Well, Kyle's a great guy, and they bought a beautiful house, and we bought as a housewarming gift. He said he wants a lawnmower. I said, sure, we'll buy him a lawnmower. No, he wants an electric lawnmower.
Well,
And
he's
so-
a Green New Deal guy. That's fine.
But-
And
No,
if
I
he
don't
doesn't
think
have
so.
a big yard, it
I don't
actually
think
works
so.
fine. So,
I don't think.
Anyway,
Yeah, I think AOC
it's
are
not
not
a
letters
bad
he'd put
idea.
in that order. So he's not that kind of guy. But anyway,
with
but
today's batteries and stuff, you don't have
Yeah.
a big yard. Electric, you don't have the gas, the oil, you don't have all that
Right.
garbage you have to put in your garage.
Right.
So I'm good with it.
no, I think it's a great idea, especially for his size of property. It was an awesome deal. But I will tell you, this is you talk about your son and things like this. It was one of those moments I got to be an old dad for a moment, because he says, don't get one that's self-propelled. I don't want that. And I said, Kyle, since you've never mowed a lawn, I'm going to go ahead. Trust me, I'm going to get it with the self-propel. Give it a
If he doesn't
whirl.
want to use it, just tell him to push it.
Yeah, you just turn it off. You can push it yourself.
He'll
He
be
told
grabbing
Sam-
that thing in a heartbeat.
He told Sandy, Charlie was right about that self-propel.
Exactly.
Now, I would tell you, I love that sound of the lawnmower on a Saturday morning, and that smell of cut grass. It's nothing gets you going. And and I like to lay in bed until they're done, and then
Yeah. Nothing
All right.
better than that weed blower next door at 7 a.m. on Saturday.
Yeah, well, it's not okay. I was trying to end on a positive note here today.
Leaf
All
blower,
right.
excuse me.
Oh! I had. You know what? I'm so sorry. You know what? I almost left a B out. We got one more question. I was about to land the plane.
yeah.
So hang on a second.
bring it on.
Everybody remain seated. We got one more here. B writes, "What is a good cleaner for my travertine shower floor? It has white film that I cannot get rid of."
There's a lot of cleaners on the market. Here's the thing about stones, whether it's travertine, slate, a lot of them. You don't use anything with alcohol, acid, or ammonia in it. So you're always looking for a pH cleaner, a pH balanced cleaner, I should say. You can even use baking soda and water if you just want to clean it. That's fine, because that's a base, that's a pH balance. And there's some products on the market, you always want to look for that. But here's the deal with travertine. If other products and other things have been used on it over a period of time, sometimes they have to be professionally ground and polished first, and then they put a sealer on it so you can take it from there. So there isn't an end-all greatest thing in the world. We just splash a little bit on and it looks brand new again. Travertine is not one of my favorite, and I did a lot of homes with it. People insisted on it. But man, you just spill a little drink, or your kitty or your doggy does something on it or something, it just etches the surface really bad. It's very soft. So you got to be careful. And if it's in a shower, all the detergents, all the, well, I shouldn't say detergents, you probably don't use that. All your shampoos, which I don't know anything about, your soaps and anything else used in the shower, if it has alcohol, acid, or ammonia, and some of them do, little bits, not a lot, but it could start to hurt the travertine. So once in a while, you might have to have it professionally polished.
Yeah, and we had moved into a house, I remember one of my kids was so excited, and I'd had the stone company come out, and they did the stone walk, the center walkway through the house was all stone, and came this beautiful shine on it. And she came running in with her ice cream cone. I said, whoa, take that outside. And she said, okay. And she turned like this. And to the day we left that house, there was a dull spot right there where that ice cream
was it really
landed.
from ice cream?
Yeah, just like that.
I believe it. People, this is a great way to end the show. People
Yeah.
think stone is just the toughest thing in the world. It is not. Marble, anything. Right. I remember a neighbor of mine putting a marble foyer in. Beautiful. Then they went one day and washed it with vinegar and water, thinking, oh, what a great natural way to clean it. Etched the surface. She came out of her house in tears to me and said, what do I do? And I think I recommended the same people that fixed your floor, Charlie.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different group. But they came out, fixed it, and she was so relieved because she was ready to tear the whole thing out. Marble and slate, travertine is not the end all. Granite's different, but the rest are not.
And I will tell you, and I don't mind saying it, it's a company called International Stoneworks. They were with us for a long time.
Yeah, Rowie over there was great.
And he's like a chemist with that stuff. He understands those products like nobody's business. When it comes to stone, he's your man.
He's the one that taught me alcohol, acid, and ammonia.
He's the one that taught me that. He's a good guy. I mean, he hasn't been with us. They became much more retail with their products and commercial in their execution. So we kind of went our ways. But anyway, he's a good guy. And I think if you ever have that problem, you can Google him and find him. You're not going to find him where you find all our other home show pros, which would be right here at homeshowradio.com. You scroll down. There we got them all right there on the homepage. They're cleverly concealed where no one can find them on the homepage. And if you're not sure who they are, you can search them by category. I don't know if I've ever told you that before, 100,000 times before, but that's where they are. And by the way, Tom will be here this weekend on the radio. If you want more of this, and don't you, you can find Tom on the radio this weekend.
I'll be coming at you live from Brownsville. There's no doubt about it, because that's where I'm working down here right now, on the border, believe it or not. So I know more about what's going on in the news than most of you do, because I'm dealing with it every day. But the fact of the matter is I'm on the radio even from here because we have technology. And this weekend I'll be coming at you at 9 to 12 on Saturday and 8 to 11 on Sunday. And let us not forget about Mr. Danny Milliken, who he likes Houston. He's helping the people of Houston, all the Houstonians from the Big Freeze, and he'll be there still helping many of us who are still digging out and planting and wondering if our tree's still going to be alive, which it's not, by the way, if it hasn't come back by now.
All right.
Okay.
And
that one I can actually answer.
If you'd like to get your questions on, you go click on that Ask Tom button. It'll take you to this page, and you can fill out our form. You can send in pictures. You can send in videos, what have you. And Tom will answer them. We post a new one every day. In fact, when we get done with this broadcast, Tom and I are going to keep going and record a week's worth, and we'll put Tom. Then we post them one a day at homeshowradio.com, and that is what we've got for today. Unless you have anything to add, Tom.
No, I think we pretty much did a good job today. I thought it was pretty good.
I think I'd give today.
You got a lot of people, yeah.
Right, but maybe
put your comments. Questions.
Yeah, put your comments.
Yes.
I mean, you can comment and tell us what you think. By the way, if you came late and you're wondering what the heck did I miss, we rerun this show on Friday nights at 9 o'clock Central Time on our Facebook page. So just on the Facebook and the YouTube page, so you can find it there. And of course, Tom on the radio, and you can send the questions and all that. Okay. We'll be back here again next Thursday at 4 o'clock Central Time over most of this same computer. Have a great week.
Got a question? Ask Tom on Home Show Radio. Home Show Radio. Free advice from a pro who knows. Home Show Radio. Home Show